So then people will introduce themselves and go to the next stage, and then we'll let you go for lunch.
I'm Keith Aspinall. I'm a competitive intelligence analyst in Faye's RD team, along with Jamie Burns. I've been with OCAD for more than 10 years and as an analyst, competitive intelligence analyst. And I think when people hear competitive intelligence, they think, wow, that sounds awesome. What we do is we try to move analysis beyond just kind of providing data and providing actionable intelligence that doesn't just tell you, the what, but it's the how and why and how to better prepare you for opportunities. So that's the space that we operate in. We'll be discussing, so that's us. We'll be discussing how to find funding opportunities with NASA. I will be starting with discussing ROSES and READY. And before I get into what those actually are, who has heard of ROSES or READY? Any engineers have heard of ROSES and READY? Great. Who's applied or thinks they've applied to a program from ROSES and READY? Okay, so we have hopefully everything I say is accurate then. So ROSES and READY are big omnibus announcements that NASA puts out. And what that means is they put out the big announcement. It gives the rules, regulations, guidelines of the program from the directorates. And then each funding announcement, each program element will then release an appendix throughout the year that's attached to ROSES or READY that you apply to. So ROSES and READY themselves, that big announcement is not something you apply to. They release the appendices throughout the year. So this gives a quick recap of what they are. You can see what the acronyms stand for. ROSES is out of the Science Mission Directorate. READY is out of the Space Technology Mission Directorate. The omnibuses are released at different times. ROSES, the new ROSES should be forthcoming next month, while READY is in the middle of its cycle. It was released in October. They are structured differently in that ROSES has a lot of different program elements. They both have a lot of awards. ROSES does not compete all 100 program elements each year. It's probably around half of that, 50 to 60. That's just a ballpark. But they both produce a lot of awards. READY is a little more standardized with a smaller number of programs. Looking at ROSES, again, about 1,000 awards a year, about 600 million from those awards over the lifetime of those awards. 60% of that goes to universities and nonprofits. I don't know if that's by dollar or by award, but you still hear about 600 awards going to universities. And the award sizes do range. They have smaller awards. They have awards over $1 million. And the most common is a 3-year term, with some being longer. So ROSES actually has a lot of information available on the program, on the program pages. This is data over the last 5 years of available. They actually publish how many proposals they receive, how many they accept. The top 4 are the 4 divisions within the Science Mission Directorate, and then they have a couple of cross-division elements. So you can see here that Earth Science is probably a little more directed. They're a little more specific of what they want because each element gets fewer awards, while something like astrophysics, planetary science, a little broader and a little more open-ended on what they receive based off of that. And you can see also what the win rate is. And this data you can also pick through. So the next step of dealing with ROSES is actually finding what is applicable to you. Some of the way this information is presented is not super cutting edge, but it's effective in the sense that you have a data table that you can actually filter. They actually provide you 2 different tables. You can't sort it on your own, but that's okay. They sort it for you. If you are new to ROSES, the most important one is probably just the order of appendices. If you are new to ROSES, you can go through that list. Which ones are applicable to you? What does the announcement look like this year? Is it being competed this year? And this allows you to get an understanding of where the opportunities are for you in that omnibus with the Science Director. Other information that ROSES makes available is they have an RSS feed for program announcements. Anybody else use RSS feeds still? I do, but sweet, I'm not alone. They have video links on understanding ROSES, how to apply to ROSES. They have the solicitation. So that link at the top there And I believe we are distributing this PowerPoint, so you'll have that, or you can just search Sarah grant solicitations and probably get to it very easily. The information is there. The biggest challenge is dealing with 100 different program elements and finding the ones that apply to you. But the information it's there, and you can winnow it down and keep track of those ones that apply to you. Switching to space technology, and this was alluded to by Jim and others on the panel. With space technology, the big thing is keeping in mind what their mission is and how does your research and capabilities address what their mission is. So space technology is about going into space, landing, creating livable environments, and exploring. And then, so this is produced by the Space Technology Directorate. And this kind of shows the range of the technologies they're looking for to make those big things happen. So understanding that mission and how your research and, again, abilities help fulfill that will make you more successful with the Space Technology Mission Director. Again, READY has a lot fewer programs. Those top half are the ones are the space technology research grants, which are more directed at universities and academia. The bottom half are more geared towards public-private partnerships, commercial space flight. So that would be opportunities to work with perhaps new space with industry partners on that bottom half. Something like the NASA Innovative Advanced Concepts is similar to SBIR in a sense. I mean, it's not the same program or else it would be called that, but it's similar to that. So those top half, again, are university faculty. One of the, I think, long-term goals is the Space Technology Research Institutes, our new program. I think it's been competed twice. It will be competed for a third time, is to develop the interdisciplinary team here that can compete for that. Maybe not this cycle, but it looks like that's being competed every 2 years. Most of these are standard every year. The graduate research opportunities is a newer program, but it looks to be competed every year. And if you notice, early career faculty is coming, should be released next month. ASU's had about 10 engineering faculty apply for that over the last 5-6 years with 2 winners. Matthew Green was alluded to earlier. Yuji Zhao also won in 2015. This is what the early career faculty award looked like this past year. They had 4 topics that they were looking for, and those are kind of there. The topics will be new this year, but that kind of gives you an idea of how they present what they're looking for and kind of the technical specs that they're looking for just in the title. So it's only university applicants. That kind of gives the timeline from last year, about 8 weeks to get the full proposal in with a notice of intent due in the middle, $600K over 3 years. And NASA does define technology readiness levels differently than, say, DoD does. So TRL1 is basic principles observed and reported. TRL2 is technology concept and or application formulated. That was a quick summary. And then there's 6 to 8 awards. So it's not like an expansive program, but it is one that we have had winners for. Yeah.
What is this across all directorates?
So this is through the READY program. So this is a proposal within READY and the Space Technology, Space Technology Mission Director. And so that's kind of an overview of those two. Again, ROSES, lots of programs. Take some time maybe to find what you're looking for, but the information is there and you can winnow it down to focus on those things that are applicable to you. And the READY maybe more applicable to engineering, but it also has applicability to working with industry partners. And then I'll turn it over to Jamie for how to navigate some of the other parts.
As has been mentioned, I'm Jamie Burns. I'm a competitive intelligence analyst, and I'm going to wrap up today's workshop and kind of segue us into the next workshop. And so I'll talk through finding opportunities, and I'll just briefly talk through 3 ways to find, or 2 ways really, and then I'll open it up to the floor to get tips from faculty from you all. So I'll talk through the directorate pages themselves, how to navigate them, how to go learn about the directorates, as was mentioned on the panel, that's invaluable. I'll talk through the NASA database NSPIRES, and then I know many of you in the room have found NASA opportunities, and so if you would like to share tips, that would be great. And so, as has been mentioned several times, NASA has a number of directorates. These are the directorates that most closely fund research. So the Aeronautic Research Mission Directorate, ARMD, focuses on aviation. The Human Exploration and Operations Mission Directorate, HUMOD, focuses on human exploration in and beyond low Earth orbit. The Science Mission Directorate focuses on science investigations and space exploration. And so as Keith was just talking about, NASA ROSES lives under SMD. And then lastly, the Space Technology Mission Directorate focuses on technology development to enable future missions. And so that is where NASA Ready, as Keith was just talking about, lives. And so on the screen, I've included a screen cap of what the Space Technology Mission Directorate, what their website looks like. And so this is just an example. They all kind of look very similar and have a lot of the same information. But I just want to point out 3 things there. So about STMD is where you can go and learn about the directorate. It was mentioned on the panel a number of times earlier to go and learn about the sponsor and learn about their mission and figure out how your research serves that mission. So that's where you can go and do that. Then there's also STMD programs, which has a list of the programs run through STMD. So that can give you an idea of what each directorate is funding. And then lastly, STMD solicitations, which has upcoming solicitations. And so if you were to click into STMD programs, there's a number of programs listed. As Keith mentioned, the early career faculty is one of those programs. And so this is just a screen cap of what those program pages look like. And so they have a lot of information on them. They have an overview of what the program is looking for, an idea about the amount of funding available, contact information, and then my favorite little bit, they have the past awards. And so you can go through those past awards to see who's been funded all across the US to figure out, what are they looking for, who they funded in the past, how you might fit in with that group of people, to really just start thinking strategically about this program if you choose to apply to it. So the NASA Solicitation and Proposal Integrated Review and Evaluation System, NSPIRES, is the NASA database for finding opportunities. And so on NSPIRES, this is the screen cap of NSPIRES, you can see future solicitations, open solicitations, and then current and past solicitations. I will say NSPIRES is a database, and so like all databases, it takes some time to get used to its intricacies and how to work through it. It's a pretty simple database. You can't really narrow a lot. You can't really do advanced searches. So it can be a little bit tedious in navigating. I would say the directorate pages are probably a better route, but this is still a good inventory of all proposal or solicitation opportunities available.
Does that interface with Pivot?
It does. So yeah, if Pivot is a funding opportunity database that we here at ASU have access to, and so it's a link coming up in a couple slides that will provide, no, I'm not going to go into detail. And so yes, Pivot is pulling from NSPIRES. So if you're more comfortable with Pivot, that could be a better. And lastly, if there's any, I know faculty in the room, you guys have your way of finding opportunities. So if you want to share those, I'd be very thankful for that. Anyone want to share?
No, I know SMAS did a thing where he went through that whole database at one point
Oh, okay.
and tried to, I don't know, scribe some sort of patterns for Kyle, I guess.
That sounds really successful.
Not widely advertised as success, but that doesn't mean adjective.
Okay.
So we might talk to him if you're looking to figure out what maybe he learned something.
Okay, yeah, if I can follow up with Scott and see if he has any further tips about NSPIRES. Yeah.
If you're in engineering, for example, and you get asked to participate in the NASA grant, that would be the first question. Did you register with NSPIRES? So you can always go on there, do that, and get it started.
Yep.
Manifest students.
I have to agree with what Sherry was saying earlier, that I don't think it's about money hunting, right? We're scientists and engineers, and we have come here with our particular passions and curiosities, and I suspect that we should all be led we want to do a good job and enjoy our jobs is be led by what we're actually curious about, and then inquire with Scott or you guys, or, you know, Faye, or Google search government, Inspire's websites for things that might fit what your questions are. I think it's kind of backwards to look and see like, oh, can I fit into this, can I fit into that, if you don't really know what your question is.
It goes further than that, I think. I mean, if you look at this list of things, there's a lot of very odd specific stuff. How do you think that got there? Think about that. It was somebody went to a panel review, or you know, some sort of there's all these other strategic panels that they have. You get your thing on there. That's how you do it. And then because if you look at how the timing is, that these advertisements come out in a month to write a proposal, or 2 months to write a proposal. You're not going to come up with something. You're going to discover some like, oh, look, the thing I want just happened to pop up, and I just happened to have a proposal. Like, how do you think that works? This is just a sort of an interesting interface to watch what people actually want to do scroll by. So don't just wait for it to come along. You got to go out there and make it happen. You got to, you know, share a controversy with my coffee.
Can I have a question? May I ask a question, which is, do you guys attend conferences and then inform the program manager? So is that bi-directional conversation to inform the program portfolio, but
Right.
through conferences as an avenue?
It's partly through that, mostly, like, so for instance, I'll give you an example about small satellites, right? NASA did not know that anyone could do anything interesting with small satellites until the community rallied and said, there are things we can do with small satellites. Engineers said, there are detectors that are actually useful that we can put into small satellites. And then NASA responded by having a call for small satellites and testing it out. So it's really, if there's something that you guys want to do, you have to solicit NASA and convince them that there's an actual utility in them funding this. Because they don't have their finger on the pulse of what's cutting edge necessarily, right? They're conservative, as Joe was telling us. So it's really up to us to inform them. If that means you're going to talk to them every time you're in DC, you know, ask to go to headquarters, invite yourself. Okay, I want you in. And then other ways, and then conferences where they do the, what do
Do
they
you
call
have
it?
a
Town halls. They do
Town
the town halls.
Which conference?
So in our case, it's the American Astronomical Society, but they always show up at SPIE meetings. They show up at small, so they show up at technical meetings all the time and find out who they are, look at the participant list of a particular meeting, ask to have coffee with so-and-so, if you know the NASA headquarters person. I think it's really up to us. The decadal process. Oh, so I'm on the Astro 2020 decadal panel. If anyone has ideas that you would like filtered up the chain, let me know. Now's your chance because we're writing the reports. But yes, the decadal process of, you know, people who are advocating in your respective field, be it planetary science or anything else, find those people who are there to
Can you define the decadal?
I'm going to say the same thing.
Just
yeah,
real
one
quick.
papers. Okay, so
Decadal is,
the decadal survey in every field seems to have one, but the astronomy one is going through now, and planetary science. So in 2020, there is a bunch of scientists and engineers coming together that are supposed to write results funded through the National Academies of Science and Engineering and Medicine. And we write these reports that make recommendations for NASA to take to Congress to fund all our hopes and dreams, right? So if we want a 1,000-meter telescope, we need to make sure that the community rallies around a 1,000-meter telescope and convinces the committee to write it down. It's really useful. We write a report, and that's what NASA goes and takes and shops around to Congress. That's the only way big projects are really going to get funded. So every field has its own. Planetary science has its own. Maybe engineering has its own. I'm just not aware of it. So, and in order to solicit community input, they have an opening for white papers, and we received hundreds of white papers where anyone who wants in the world can write a white paper, and we have the responsibility of actually having 2 people read each and every single one of them, at least. And so we get a pulse of what's happening in the community and then translate that up the chain. So find out who your respective decadal, every field seems to do this as far as I can tell.
Thank you. That was really great.
she'll be doing the next workshop.
Yeah, and so we've also just included a list of resources. As you mentioned earlier, Pivot is there. So just if you haven't explored Pivot, it's a great resource for finding opportunities. You can also use it to find collaborators. So it's linked there for your ease. All Great. And then wrapping up and segueing into our next workshop, we have a little bit of homework we would like to ask for you all to do. So I'll pause for a minute and give you guys an opportunity just to read through those 2 prompts.
The homework is also.
Yeah, so on page 26, you can find the homework. There's a QR code, so you can just scan that with your phone. There's also a link, and I'll walk through briefly what it is. And so we're just asking that you think through all that we've covered today, those that you've met in the room, ideas that have sparked, and start to think about funding opportunities that might be of interest for you in this cohort, how you could work together, others that you might want to bring into these groups to really start thinking about how we translate everything we're going to do into this workshop into finding opportunities. And so I'll just quickly walk through the online, just got to give it a minute to load. Oh, you can't see it. Okay. Should I just end slideshow? You see it now? Okay, it's going to make me sign in, which I can do. So I can briefly just chat through what you'll see when you go to the spreadsheet. And so we've included directions into the spreadsheet as comments. So if you forget everything I've said here today, it's all there. But it'll ask for your name, your email, your phone number, a couple of keywords about the research you're interested in doing. We'll ask that you list a funding opportunity, link it, and then in the last column of the spreadsheet, we've added a column for collaborators. So if you're scrolling through the spreadsheet and if Jenny has listed something really, really cool and you think you might be able to provide something, add your name to the collaborators column. It's not binding, but it just is a way to get everyone chatting and talking. And then, if you're putting an opportunity in and you heard something here today that you think, oh, I really need that expertise that this person could provide, go ahead and add their name. And so that'll just kind of get us rolling to the next workshop. What we'll do is if you could input those by March 1st, our competitive intelligence team, Keith and I, we will go through those opportunities and do a little bit of CI around them to help you guys just with the strategy around applying to those opportunities. So our next workshop is scheduled for April 9th. We have a couple minutes left. And so if anyone wants to share any thoughts as we wrap up, that would be great.